The champagne bubbles popped alongside the crashing waves at the foot of the emerald cliffs. The scent of sea salt was so thick I could taste the brine on my lips. The wind shrieked through the glass domes of the mansion, sounding like the mournful cry of a lost soul. I stood in the shadows of the balcony, the darkness swallowing my worn, frayed suit. Behind me, the crystal chandeliers cast a shallow, artificial, golden glow. The laughter of the elite echoed, sharp as the clinking of expensive crystal. "Tom, you still prefer skulking in the dark like a sewer rat, don't you?" The voice reeked of expensive wine and absolute contempt. That was Marcus, the city planning official, dressed in a polished Italian suit, holding his glass like a crown. Beside him stood Sarah, my wife, or more accurately, the woman about to become my most painful memory. She stood there, magnificent in an emerald silk dress, but her eyes were as cold as polar ice. Sarah didn't look at me. She looked at the Patek Philippe watch on Marcus's wrist. "Sign it, Tom," she said, her voice so calm it was terrifying. "Oh, make our evening any more pathetic than it already is." Marcus pulled a thick folder from his inner pocket and tossed it onto the marble table, stained with wine spills.
"Divorce papers and the deed to the last beach plot," Marcus sneered, baring teeth white and arrogant. "This is the price for her freedom. And for this beach to finally be rid of your dilapidated shack." I looked down at the papers, the black ink dancing under the moonlight. This land was my father's legacy. It was the last place that remained wild before the greed of men like Marcus turned everything into concrete.
"Do you know what you are doing, Marcus?" I asked, my voice low and vibrating like distant thunder. Marcus laughed loudly, the sound echoing across the balcony, making guests turn their heads. "I am creating the future, Tom. I will fill this sand with $1,000,000 restaurants. And you will spend the rest of your life in a rotting tent, chewing on your impoverished memories." Sarah remained silent. Her silence was the sharpest blade piercing my pride. She had chosen power. She had chosen lavish parties over the scent of grilled fish by the shore that we once loved. I picked up the old fountain pen. The nib touched the cold paper, leaving a long black streak like a scar that would never heal. "I will sign," I whispered, feeling my heart pound against my ribs. "But remember this moment, Marcus, because before your concrete even has time to dry, the ocean will reclaim what belongs to it." I walked away from the party, leaving behind the jazz music and the heavy scent of perfume. My footsteps sank deep into the fine sand. This soft feeling used to be all I ever needed. Flashed back to 10 years ago. Emerald Bay back then was only wind and whispering pines. Sarah and I built a small eatery called Sea Waves, using driftwood washed up from the ocean. The aroma of grilled fish mingled with the hearth fire, creating a tiny paradise. Sarah's hands were rough with sand ven, but her smile was brighter than any diamond she wears tonight. We once dreamed of preserving this bay. We swore we would never let urbanization swallow the peace of the sea. But human hearts change faster than the tide. Marcus's appearance was like a toxin slowly seeping into Sarah's mind. He came with glossy blueprints and promises of a royal life. He looked at my beach not as a gift of nature, but as a pile of untapped cash. "This shack is a stain on the planning map," Marcus once told Sarah right in front of me. And she believed him. She began to feel ashamed of my t-shirt stained with fish oil. She began to crave the Hermes bags that Marcus was all too willing to provide. For the past 5 years, I watched Marcus use every legal trick to suffocate my eatery. He cut the electricity, cut the water, and turned my land into a legal gray zone. He wanted me to collapse. He wanted me to kneel and beg for his charity. But they didn't know one truth: who I really am beneath the skin of a coastal cook. I spent every night in this small hut, studying nautical charts and federal environmental preservation laws. I held evidence of the erosion and the catastrophic impact of the sea filling that Marcus was hiding. More importantly, I am the secret chairman of the Bay Preservation Society, an organization even Marcus fears. I signed the divorce papers, not because of failure. I signed because I needed them to take the final fatal step. I needed them to pour billions of dollars into that illegal sea-filling pile, so that when I strike, their downfall will be irreversible. I stood before the old eatery, now just a gray wooden frame under the moonlight. The stench of rotting coral, destroyed by excavators, hit my nose. The ocean is moaning, and I am the only one who hears that cry. "Sleep well, Sarah," I said quietly to the endless void. "Because tomorrow, when your first bulldozers start their engines, it will be the death knell for the empire you just traded your soul to build." 3 months had passed since that fateful night at the Emerald Estate. Dawn at Emerald Bay no longer carried the gentle honey-yellow color of before. It was torn apart by the ear-piercing roar of the newest Komatsu excavators. The sound of metal clashing against boulders echoed across the water, steady and ruthless, like a countdown clock. The thick smell of diesel fumes completely overwhelmed the purity of the sea breeze. I sat on the steps of my temporary hut, holding a handheld seismic meter. This shack sat right against the partition fence, built from rusted tin sheets and rotting wood. Marcus called this the scar of the construction site. He allowed me to stay here as an on-site sanitation supervisor, a job he believed would humiliate me to the core. He wanted me to see with my own eyes my father's beach being buried under limestone and sludge. I looked out into the distance, where barges were dumping tons of rock onto the deep blue coral reef. The water, once crystal clear, was now murky, frothing white, and reeking of sea creatures that couldn't escape. Under my grease-stained work clothes, my heart remained strangely calm. Every day, I quietly recorded data into the battered laptop they thought I only used for trash reports. They didn't know my screen was displaying ground-penetrating radar charts. Every vibration from Marcus's illegal sea filling was creating serious cracks in the underlying geological structure. Pressure was building, bit by bit.
One afternoon, the roar of a Porsche 911 engine sounded near the fence. Marcus and Sarah stepped out, their aura as confident as masters of the entire ocean. Sarah wore oversized sunglasses, hiding her eyes, but not the disgust etched into the corner of her lips. She used a Hermes silk scarf to cover her nose, blocking the stench of the mud.
"Hey, Tom. Still composting trash, are you?" Marcus sneered, his voice ringing through the haze of dust. He used his foot to kick the measuring equipment I was pretending to repair. "Clean up this mess, or I'll have the bulldozer level this pigsty of yours ahead of schedule." I didn't look up, my hands busy adjusting the sensitive sensors. "Don't worry, Marcus. I'm handling it. This stench will soon disappear."
Sarah stepped a little closer, her high heels sinking into the slimy layer of mud. "Jack! No, Tom! Why must you torture yourself like this?" she whispered, her voice wavering between pity and contempt. "Take this money and just leave. Don't make the project's landscape any uglier." She placed an envelope of cash on the broken table, exactly like the way she threw the divorce papers 3 months ago. I looked up at her, my gaze piercing through the expensive black lenses. "Your project is magnificent, Sarah. It's like a giant sandcastle. Very beautiful until the first wave hits." Marcus laughed arrogantly, putting his arm around Sarah and pulling her away. "Hopeless. He's gone mad from this rotten egg smell." They had no idea that the pungent rotten egg smell was hydrogen sulfide gas leaking from the tectonic cracks.
Their reckless sea filling had broken the balance of the anticline structure beneath. The high-pressure oil reservoir was breathing, and it was screaming to be released. That night, under the dim light of a tactical flashlight, I took a soil sample from the old well behind the shed. The soil was black, waxy, and sticky. Under the light, it shimmered with the rainbow hues of hydrocarbon. I smiled. My first smile after months of endurance. Marcus thought he was building an empire on my land. He didn't know he was only building a giant bird cage on a time bomb. My phone vibrated. A message from the legal office of the Bay Preservation Society. "Everything is ready, just awaiting the chairman's order." I turned off the screen, looking out at the vast ocean. The waves still crashed, but the sound now felt like a symphony of vengeance. "Sleep well, princess," I whispered into the darkness, "because tomorrow, when I press the button to start the first drill, your entire glittering world will truly shake."
The grand opening of the Emerald Crown restaurant was so dazzling it outshone the stars in the Emerald Bay sky. The melodious sound of violins wove through the white marble pillars, marble Marcus had spent millions to import from Italy.
The scent of luxury, rich foie gras and black truffle wafted through the air, trying to mask the smell of mud and grease that still lingered. Sarah stood in the main hall, as magnificent as a queen, in a diamond-encrusted dress, her red lips curved in a proud smile for the VIP guests. Marcus stood beside her, champagne glass in hand, his eyes sparkling with triumph as he looked down at the leveled beach.
I stepped into the hall, my work boots caked in slimy mud, leaving filthy black streaks on the polished marble floor. My old work jacket looked like a tear in their perfect canvas. Every eye fixed on me. Whispers began to hiss like cobras. "Tom, have you lost your mind?" Sarah gasped, her voice trembling with the humiliation evident before her elite friends.
Marcus stepped forward, slamming his glass onto the table so hard the crystal nearly shattered. "Security! Throw this sewer rat out of here immediately!" he bellowed, his face flushed with rage. I didn't flinch. I stood still in the center of the hall, sensing the slight vibration beneath my feet, a vibration only a geologist would recognize. "You can't throw me out, Marcus. I am here to collect a debt."
My voice rang out, calm and powerful, drowning out the unfinished violin music. Marcus let out a hoarse laugh, filled with absolute contempt. "Debt? You're just a failed cook living off my ex-wife's pity," he screamed in my face. I pulled a black metal card from my jacket pocket and placed it on the silver tray of a nearby waiter. On the card was the silver coral emblem of the International Bay Preservation Society.
Marcus's face drained from red to deathly pale in the span of a single breath. "Preservation Society Chairman? Where did you get this?" he stammered, his hands beginning to shake. At that moment, Charles Denning, the top environmental lawyer Marcus had always dreamed of hiring, stepped out from behind me. Charles didn't look at Marcus. He only bowed his head to me with deep respect. "Mr. Chairman, all legal procedures are complete."
The emergency cease and desist and demolition orders have been issued. A soft gasp escaped Sarah's mouth. She recoiled, nearly falling into the tower of champagne glasses. "Chairman? Tom, what is this?" she whispered, her eyes full of horror and disbelief. 5 years ago, you threw me out because you thought I was worthless, I said, each word as sharp as a razor blade. But my silence was not failure. It was preparation.
Marcus, you built this restaurant on a federally protected reef using forged signatures. And more importantly, your $1 million slab of concrete is sitting on a high-pressure gas pocket you intentionally ignored in the geological warnings. Right then, a dull explosion thundered from deep underground, shaking the entire mansion. The first crack appeared on the white marble floor, running from my feet straight to where Marcus stood.
The pungent stench of oil and sulfur began to choke the room, completely overwhelming the expensive perfumes.
"Stop! I'll fix it! I'll pay!" Marcus shrieked, collapsing onto the floor, trying to use his chubby hands to cover the crack. I looked at him with absolute stillness, the same way he looked at me when I signed the divorce papers. "It's too late, Marcus. You cannot bribe the ocean."
Outside, the environmental task forces and government excavators are moving in to dismantle this pile of waste. Sarah approached, trying to grab my arm with hands shaking from terror. "Tom, I was wrong. We can start over," she sobbed. I brushed her hand away with finality, a feeling as cold as touching a corpse. "You aren't looking for your husband. You're just trying to save the assets about to vanish."
The sirens of the Coast Guard fleet blared out in the bay, searchlights sweeping through the ballroom like the last fading flickers of hope. Marcus's empire was collapsing in the literal sense, pieces of the plaster ceiling beginning to fall like an avalanche. I turned and walked away, not once looking back at the chaos behind me.
The glass doors shattered under the tectonic pressure, releasing the roar of the ocean rushing in to reclaim its territory. Justice doesn't need to be loud. It only needs the right moment to rise from the depths. The first dawn after the geological storm did not bring the harsh, scorching yellow of greed. It brought a pale, grayish-blue color, as pure and gentle as an apology from the sky. I stood on the fine sand, where the last meters of the illegal sea-filled concrete were being crushed into meaningless rubble by government excavators. The roar of the machinery no longer bothered me. It sounded like a broom sweeping away the stains on the ocean's carpet. The smell of diesel had vanished, replaced by the briny, fresh scent of the sea breeze rushing in from the horizon.
In the distance, on the asphalt road, I saw Marcus being led into a federal police vehicle in handcuffs. His face no longer held any arrogance, only a pale, trembling mass of flesh under the daylight. Sarah stood alone beside the pile of bricks, her emerald green dress now stained with mud and torn at the hem. She watched the car, then looked toward me, her eyes sunken from a sleepless night of terror. But I did not look at her. My gaze was fixed on the coral reefs beginning to emerge as the tide receded. I did what needed to be done, I whispered to myself, and now it is truly over. For years I had let silence envelop me like a protective layer of armor. They thought they could control me with contempt and filthy money, but they were wrong. I was not the failure for them to mock, and I was not the solution to their downfall. They called me poor.
Now they can call me untouchable. I reached into my jacket pocket, touching my father's old compass, feeling the roughness of the metal worn by time. Legacy does not lie in skyscrapers or million-dollar restaurants built on the blood of nature. It lies in who you are when you have nothing left in your hands.
This revenge was never about destroying an empire. It was about restoring the justice and dignity that had been stolen.
True power does not lie in authoritative signatures or checks with many zeros. True power is peace of mind. It is the certainty that you fought for what was right without losing your own soul. The city behind me was still waking up to its frantic pace, but here at Emerald Bay, time seemed to be moving backward to heal the concrete scars. I took a deep breath, feeling my lungs fill with the fresh sea air.
I am ready for whatever comes next. The past is no longer a boulder weighing down my shoulders. It has become the solid foundation for me to stand firm in life. The ocean will still crash its waves. The sand will still be fine beneath the feet. And this time, there will be no one left to steal the peace of Emerald Bay. I turned and walked away, leaving the ruins of greed behind me. My journey is only just beginning.